2,000 years ago, a supreme predator ruled the forests of the Americas.
The jaguar, solitary, powerful, and perfectly adapted to survive in one of Earth's harshest environments.
This is the story of how these magnificent hunters thrived when ancient civilizations were just rising.
Before modern threats, jaguars dominated an empire stretching from Mexico to Argentina. The jaguar's survival depended on one crucial trait: an unmatched ability to hunt. With the strongest bite force of any big cat, they could crush skulls and pierce thick armor. Unlike other cats, jaguars mastered both land and water, hunting wherever prey could hide. From caimans to capybaras, their diet was more diverse than any other big cat.
This adaptability allowed them to thrive across varied landscapes, from rainforests to grasslands.
Their rosette patterns weren't just beautiful, they were essential camouflage for ambush hunting. In the filtered light of the Pantanal wetlands, jaguars became nearly invisible to unsuspecting prey. Their climbing ability added another dimension. They could hunt monkeys and birds in the trees. From these elevated perches, they could survey vast territories and plan their next hunt.
Exceptional hearing allowed them to detect prey from hundreds of meters away.
As nocturnal hunters, their night vision was 6 times more powerful than humans.
Razor-sharp retractable claws provided silent movement while stalking and deadly grip when striking.
Their muscular build generated explosive power. Jaguars could leap over 6 meters in a single bound. Speed, strength, and strategy combined to make them the apex predator of their domain.
Jaguars marked their domains with claw marks visible for kilometers, warning away rivals.
Scent marking created invisible boundaries that other jaguars instinctively respected. A single male jaguar controlled up to 150 square kilometers, an empire requiring constant patrol. These battles tested their strength and resolve, determining who would control the best hunting grounds. Water sources were the most valuable territories. Jaguars always established domains near rivers. Unaware of the danger lurking just feet away, the peccaries continue to drink. But the marsh deer senses the presence of the jungle's apex predator. Seasonal changes transformed the landscape, but jaguars adapted their strategies to every condition. During floods, their swimming prowess became critical for accessing isolated hunting grounds. In drought, territories centered on remaining water sources became even more fiercely defended. Through scent, they gathered intelligence, determining rivals' gender, strength, and reproductive status. Nocturnal patrols allowed them to move unseen while maintaining awareness of everything in their domain. Constant vigilance was the price of survival. Complacency meant invasion or starvation. In this way, the forest was divided among solitary monarchs, each ruling their isolated kingdom. Territorial maintenance required daily effort, but provided security and predictable access to resources. Only through such dedication could jaguars secure the stability needed to survive and reproduce. Every few years, female jaguars entered estrus, signaling their readiness to continue the lineage. Their calls traveled for kilometers, advertising availability to distant males across the landscape. Males abandoned territorial disputes temporarily, driven by the biological imperative to mate. They would travel for days, entering other males' territories despite the danger. First encounters were tense. Both cats assessed whether the other was suitable for mating.
Mating occurred repeatedly over several days to ensure conception and genetic continuity.
Afterward, the male returned to his territory, his role in reproduction complete. For the next 100 days, the female carried new life while continuing to hunt alone.
Selecting a den was crucial. It needed concealment, protection, and proximity to water.
When birth came, she labored alone in darkness, as jaguars have for millennia.
The cubs emerged blind and helpless, weighing barely a kilogram each.
For the first weeks, they depended entirely on their mother's milk and protection.
She had to leave them frequently to hunt, a dangerous necessity that tested survival. During these absences, cubs faced threats from snakes, eagles, and even other jaguars. A mother's protective instinct was absolute. She would fight to the death for her offspring. At 6 weeks, their eyes opened, revealing a world they would need to master. Their first steps outside the den marked the beginning of their education. Through play, they developed coordination and hunting instincts coded in their DNA. At 3 months, serious training began, lessons that determined whether cubs would survive. They started with small prey. Insects and lizards became their first training targets. The mother brought increasingly larger prey, teaching cubs the precision required for clean kills. Water lessons were essential. Cubs learned to swim before they could fully hunt.
Fishing required patience and practice, skills that developed through countless failed attempts.
Each success built confidence and refined the instincts they would depend on later.
Climbing lessons expanded their hunting range to include arboreal prey. Falls taught painful lessons about balance and respect for height.
The mother led them on increasingly long expeditions, revealing the extent of their future territories.
She taught them to read scent marks, the invisible language of jaguar communication.
Cubs began establishing their own scent signatures, preparing for eventual independence.
By 1 year old, they shadowed hunts, learning strategy without interfering. They learned that patience in the hunt was rewarded with food.
At 18 months, cubs of jaguar began attempting their own hunts with growing success.
These months forged bonds that would be remembered even after separation.
As the cubs of the Amazonian jaguar matured, the mother gradually increased distance, preparing them for solitude.
Eventually, she drove them away aggressively, cruel but necessary for their independence.
At 2 years old, young jaguars ventured alone into an uncertain world. The mother resumed her solitary existence, her territory ready for the cycle to begin again.
Her offspring dispersed to find their own domains, carrying forward the lessons of survival.